And if you keep doing that, you're literally training the body to a new mind. That's the empowerment that happens when we master the moment. I'm your host, Dr. Joe Dispenza. Let's begin.
My question today is, you've made this statement in the past of when your will matches its will. And I've been thinking about that quite a bit and wondering about will. And I'd like, if you could, would you elaborate on that a little bit? It's like my will, its will, your will. That would really help maybe clarify. Thanks.
Sure, Ellery. Thank you so much for asking the question. I think when we have a uncompromising will, when we believe in thought more than anything else, I think something awakens in us. I think it's energy. I think it's what was called by the mystics spiritual. It is this invisible energy that awakens in a human being. And the spirit may be willing, but many times the flesh is weak. And so when you don't have a will, it seems that we're left with kind of what's known to us, what's conditioned in us, what's habituated in us. And I think people shrink into mediocrity, and they find people that do the same. And I think that there's a lot of agreement for that in the world. But we all know that we've, at one point in our life, done something great. And when we've made up our mind to do something great, that's the execution of a will. And when you make a decision about that future and you decide who you're going to be, or if that dream is going to be realized for you, and you come out of your resting state, I think that energy, that empowerment, that kind of internal fortitude, I think is the engine that drives our dreams into reality. And the stronger you feel that, the more you remember the decisions. So to me, that is a strong sense of will. Now, how can it be used? Well, in this work, if you're going to move that energy, as an example from the last question, if you're going to move that energy that's sitting in the body, that is stored in the body as the mind, if you're going to liberate guilt or fear or suffering or pain, you got to execute a will that's greater than that conditioning, greater than that programming. And your body literally has to respond to your mind. And the response of your body to your mind is actually causing the body to begin to change biologically. And so do that every single day. And I think in time, your will starts to create a reality. Now, I don't think that creating matter to matter is the only way to create. I think you can create from the field instead of from matter. And I think that there is this energy that exists within us, this innate intelligence that is kind of wise, that it knows. And in fact, we have data now that kind of suggests that this is the truth. So it is a will that's keeping your heart beating, and that's digesting your food, that's breaking down that food, that it's, in a sense, it's giving you life. And if it wasn't that way, if you didn't want to live one day, or you didn't feel good, or you chose to think all kinds of unhealthy thoughts, if it wasn't wise enough, many people wouldn't be alive today. And so there's this kind of will that it shows up and gives us life every single day. And so when I say, when your will matches its will, when your mind matches its mind, when your love for life matches its love for life, it answers the call, because it is literally the giver of life. And so when I studied spontaneous remissions from diseases, this was one of the things that I noticed in people, that they believed that there was this kind of intelligence within them that could actually do the healing. And so, but you can't go half in. And I think when when you really show up and you go all in, your will and its will becomes one. I think you can begin to produce an outcome in your life. And a lot of people in this work can philosophically say, wow, that sounds right to me, that I believe in this information. I saw the testimonials, but they may not actually believe that it could work for them. And so in order for them to prove to themselves that they could actually heal, they need a will. And that will has to be done every day. That they have to show up as a creator, and they have to believe in that future. And sometimes it takes will to get out of bed. Sometimes it takes will to get beyond yourself. Sometimes it takes will to master the moment, to get beyond your analytical mind. That's showing up with an energy that's greater than the body as the mind. And so many people lose their free will to a set of habituated automatic programs. And in the work, when you notice that you want to quit, or you want to give up, or you don't believe it anymore, and you almost give up, and you catch yourself wanting to move or give up, and you don't do that. You actually bring the body back to the present moment, because you know that it doesn't want to be uncomfortable, it doesn't want to be in the unknown. When you execute that kind of will is actually greater than the program that you lost your free will to. And if you keep doing that, you're literally training the body to a new mind. That's the empowerment that happens when we master the moment. Keep doing that, and you get really good and natural and familiar with being willful. So I think it's a skill. I think it's something that you can only talk around. But I think if you can catch yourself at that point where you think you can't go any further, and your body is trying to be the mind, every time you master the body and settle it back down into the present moment, or lower the volume to that emotion, that takes an enormous amount of will to do that. It takes a will, it takes an awareness, it takes energy. And yet if you keep doing it, it gets easier. So I think it's an important thing for us to think about when we're truly in the process of change.
Hi, Dr. Joe. Okay, I'm so glad to be with you today. So I started doing your work recently, and well, I mean, big surprise, you probably heard it a million times, went all in. Here's my personal caveat though. I'm a professional actor, and sometimes I tell really intense stories for a living. So my question is, does the body truly not know the difference between the emotions I'm feeling and experiencing as my character when I'm prioritizing their lives and state of mind versus what I'm experiencing myself, thoughts and feelings? Or do we in fact have some sort of, divine intuition that is able to tell them apart? And the paradox in all of this is that, acting is my calling. It's what makes me happiest, and it's my way of serving in this lifetime, even when the stories are really hard to tell. But that being said, doing your work, obviously I started wondering if, gosh, will I spend the rest of my life making my brain and body better when I'm not working, only to make them worse when I am? If for instance, I'm, telling grueling stories. So I was wondering if you could help me build a model there. Thank you so much.
Oh, what a great question, Emily. I'd love to answer it. I think we all are acting. Yeah, in fact, I think this is all an act. And I think you're called to be whoever you want to be. And so I have great friends that are actors, and I think they're masters of neuroplasticity. I think that when you can embody a character and lay down the old character that's called your personality and your identity, the act of getting beyond yourself to that degree causes you to really create a new level of mind and really begin to get your body to become very more resilient and much more versatile. We actually do that, I think, really well when we do our walking meditations, and people who are very physical and very in their body, they really like the walking meditations because they can practice embodying that person. They can practice being that person. And so there's not a whole lot of difference in what we do in the walking meditations and what you probably do to a large degree in acting, and that's become somebody else. Which begs the question, if you're doing the walking meditation and you can't become somebody else, that means you're really good at being at the habit of being yourself, and it's really hard to be anybody else. And that could be one of the reasons why your body doesn't change or your life doesn't change. And I know about this from just personal experience, that when I'm really caught up in the act of being the same person, and I can't get beyond myself, that's disturbing. But when I can stretch myself and become somebody else in the walking meditation, I think I always feel so much better as a result of it. So now take that and place that aside, and that's instrumental for people who are doing this work. Now let's talk about taking on the character fully. And I think there's a distinction between becoming that character completely in your life and becoming that character to really fully lay down the other character and take the value of or the essence of who that character is and take that part with you. In other words, if you develop a good habit, take that good habit with you. If you have to act and become somebody who's in a lot of pain or suffering a lot, know that you've suffered enough and you've been in pain enough in your life that you could easily become this character. But when you're done with that act, you can go back to being the person that you are. Now, I think there's so much value for an actor to truly embody the character to such a degree that they have an enhancement to their personality, to their character. And I think that can work for us in really wonderful ways. By the same means, if you take on that character and you become that character and you don't see yourself as someone who's suffered enough or who's been in pain enough, and you return back to that person, then you're back to the familiar self again. So I think using acting as a way to change. Actors understand this so well. They understand, I got to rehearse the script in my mind. I got to get that down really well. I got to actually rehearse the act by getting up and getting my body involved and physically rehearse it as well as mentally rehearse it. And I think when we're in the process of change, it's really important for us to do that. I do that. That's the purpose of the walking meditations, is to do it with your eyes open, to get really good at that. Getting in your think box and thinking about your meditation or thinking about what you're doing and why you're doing it is really, really important, because that's how you assign meaning to the act, to the task, and that's how you get a greater outcome. So if your intention then is to become this character, and you have really one of two choices: to take the value from it and understand that you may have been that person if that person suffered in some way, or by the same means, to not get stuck in becoming that person and staying there. So I think to a large degree we're all acting, and I think that going from thinking to doing to being to go through those steps, to go through those processes is so essential for so many people. And I think that experts and virtuosos do this really well, whether they're playing an instrument, whether they're acting, whether they're playing a sport. Whatever they're doing, there's always a part where they're fully engaged in a very mindful and constructive process. So I would say use it to your advantage. Remember that when you're doing it, that it is an act. Get really good at being as many characters as you can be. Take the value from each one of those characters so that you have a broader perception of life, that you can see a reality through many lenses, through many different characters. I think that's a really inclusive way to see ourselves in the world.